Ladies and gentlemen, this is Ballet Ring. It's funny how a ballet centered around death can actually become immortalized forever in history and recognized as one of the most poignant and most revered pieces of ballet in the repertoire. And fortunately enough for you, that is exactly the piece that we are going to be talking about in today's video. This famous ballet or solo called the Dying Swan is under 5 minutes long depending on the tempo of the music, with no fouettes, no flashy tricks, absolutely nothing on the stage except a single swan in the spotlight in its final moments of life. And yet, here we are over a century later, and the Dying Swan is still being reinterpreted, revered, and reserved for only the most masterful and developed artists. So in today's video, we're going to be looking at why the Dying Swan still lives on, what makes it so deeply moving, and why every ballerina who dances it is reaching for something beyond just technique. If you're ready to experience this absolute masterpiece along with us, one of our favorite ballets, by the way, for sure, then hit the like button and we'll go. You cannot fully appreciate what you don't understand. So of course we're gonna be bringing you guys the context chapter of this video so you get a better view of the big picture and hopefully appreciate it more when we do show it. The Dying Swan, contrary to popular belief, is not a part of the ballet Swan Lake that we all know and love. They are separate but both beautiful. Exactly, there's Swan Lake, the 2-hour ballet in 3 or 4 acts, and then we have the Dying Swan, which is a 4-minute standalone solo piece. So the Dying Swan actually begins with our legendary ballerina, Anna Pavlova. We've talked about her in Ballet Hall of Fame video, an absolute legendary lady. Now Anna actually had a deep love for swan. Yeah, she had a lot of pet swans, and her favorite one's name was Jack, for the record. Yeah, there's some really cute pictures on the internet of her and her swan companions. Yes, she loved swans. And apparently what happened was she read the poem The Dying Swan by Alfred Lord Tennyson, and she was very much inspired by that whole concept of, you know, the final moments of a swan's life. Filled with this inspiration from this poem, The Dying Swan, she reached out to Mikhail Fokine, who was a big ballet master and choreographer at the time. He did the Firebird, one of our favorite ballets as well. So she reached out to him and commissioned him to kind of create this ballet or this solo for her surrounding the topic of the Dying Swan. And so in 1905, Mikhail Fokine and Anna Pavlova worked together to create this piece. He choreographed it to music by Camille Saint-Saëns, and the music that he chose is actually called The Swan, and it is from his collection of music called The Carnival of the Animals. Yes. Near the finale, we have the Swan. Not the Dying Swan, but just the Swan. And so they took that piece and they made this beautiful, poignant ballet piece called The Dying Swan. The Dying Swan was first performed on December 22nd of 1905, and it quickly became Anna's signature role. She was known for it. And she went on to perform The Dying Swan over 4,000 times throughout her career, all around the globe, because she was actually the first ballerina to like sort of tour the world and take ballet all over the place. Exactly, our first international ballerina. And touchingly enough, this was the last ballet she was supposed to perform before her death, tragically, in 1931. According to legend, she was very ill the night of the performance, but still with every intention to go on stage, her final words were said to be, "Prepare my swan costume." She had every intention to go out there and perform the solo that she loved and the audience loved so much. Yeah. And so obviously this solo became the stuff of legends. Yes, you know, I feel like it's held in very high esteem in the ballet rep. This is not a solo that you'll see performed at competitions. No. You'll see why in a moment, but I think it requires a certain maturity in order to really be able to capture and embody the fullness of the solo. But yeah, it's super, super special. I think every ballerina who performs it kind of carries that emotional legacy and that honor when they perform this piece. So like, that's sort of how special it is, you know what I mean? It's not just any ballet piece. This is a highly esteemed, almost sacred ballet piece, despite the fact that, and you'll see in a bit, there's no special tricks whatsoever, but there's something deeper in it, and we're about to explore that right now. Alright, you guys, I can almost guarantee you that I will be in tears by the end of this video. It's not just any ballet piece. It's really not just any. This is special. There are so many amazing ballerinas who have performed this role, but I feel like this video would not be quite right if we didn't show you the original Dying Swan featuring Anna Pavlova herself in her signature role. So let's get into it. I think the main concept, the original storyline, is very simple. It's a swan who has been wounded
And this solo is showcasing her struggle against death,
Yeah.
but ultimately her passing. And as you can see in this first like couple counts of this solo, she really immediately encapsulates that sort of fighting against death, and that's almost a rawness that, I'll be honest, you don't see this kind of struggle in a lot of modern interpretations of the Swan.
It's a lot more balletified.
A lot more
these
balletified.
days.
So if we're to do that, we'd kind of resist a little bit more.
But she doesn't hold back. She's completely fine to just let everything go.
Yeah,
and
go
really
like
feel that vulnerability and just fall into it 100%.
You can see the
pain.
the pain
And like the warring against
mortality.
I guess you could say. The Swan being wounded is definitely called to death before her time. You can tell that the spirit's not ready to go. I guess that's all you can say. It's in the emotion, it's in the way she moves, and it's the kind of the waveringness. It's just, it shows the strength that she has on the inside despite the fragility of the physical body that was hurt. The internal battle, which is so apparent in her interpretation. It is incredibly moving. And everything is so accurate in terms of the different postures and the movement pattern itself, because she studied swans, she lived with swans, and I think it just translates so beautifully through the movement. Because if you look at we'll see if we can put up some footage here of like actual swans. You know, the way their head will kind of go this way, and the way they flap their wings, it's heavily inspired by, you know, her favorite bird, the animal that she loves, and her little swan companions that she kept with her.
Another thing that's very special is the way that she uses her porte-bras. Even though the music is very smooth and very slow, she isn't afraid to use faster, more powerful movements and then to linger a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. It's that contrast. Again, duality in ballet is so important because when you have that contrast, it helps you appreciate both sides. So there's moments of stillness that are so much more still in contrast to the desperate flapping, and
I almost want to say it mirrors like natural suffering.
Yeah,
it kind of comes in waves.
Yeah.
Like you might have a little more strength or you might not, and it kind of just ebbs and flows this way.
Exactly.
Which I think makes a very authentic sort of impression. And just having her reach up, seeking to fly again.
It's a moment of quiet again.
Like that moment, it's storytelling.
It tells 1,000 tales in like 8 counts. She's trying to hold on to everything, hold on to hope, hold on to life, and it's just slipping through her fingers like water.
I hope you guys are starting to see at this point, you know, the sort of sacredness. Like you almost feel like you shouldn't be
witnessing it.
Like you're watching like something that's just
so sacred.
Sacred moment.
Yeah. This is almost like resignation. And then other times she's not quite ready to give up yet. Oh my goodness. It's almost like a prayer.
Yeah. In that one passage, you know it's inevitable.
Yeah.
You know, and I think she knows.
I think she does too.
At this point in the ballet. And as the audience, you know there's nothing that you can do and there's nothing that she can do that will take it back.
Yeah.
So you just have to watch quietly.
Just watch it happen.
And just wait it out as everything kind of happens.
Kind of like that line in Little Women. She says, you know, you can't stop the tide from going out.
Yeah, and it almost makes you, in a way, by watching her, it sort of makes you come to terms with death and the brevity of life. I mean, I don't mean to get philosophical, but like,
But we do.
but we totally do. You know,
Yeah,
it really
sure.
is the piece that makes you think.
Yeah.
It's a piece that makes you feel and a piece that makes you think.
Because there's nothing else there. It's not so much flashy tricks.
It's not the exquisite staging.
There's no other dancers.
set design.
Nothing like that. And the storyline itself is very minimal. You could sum up the whole ballet in one
In the
sentence.
title, the Dying
the title,
Swan.
literally. And so it's really just essence at this point. There's no extra additives, nothing to dilute it. And so it gives you a lot of time to feel and just to think and experience it almost.
Yeah, for sure.
This whole passage is incredible.
I love the way this piece handles the topic of mortality.
I love it too.
It shows it in such a real way, and yet also a way that doesn't have to be like the ultimate terrible thing.
Yeah.
It shows a very graceful, a very respected passing, I think.
Without sugarcoating it.
Yeah, exactly, without sugarcoating
It's like
it.
the perfect balance of both.
Yeah.
It's a very delicate balance, but it just handles it so perfectly.
Like it doesn't sugarcoat the grief and the pain. and the
It
suffering.
doesn't at all. Especially not her interpretation. It's very much there and it's very much raw and unfiltered and real. But at the same time, you can hear it in the music, the way it sings, and there's so much beauty in it despite the tragedy of it.
I think this is why it's resonated with so many people for so very long, because death is one of those things that's universal. You know, this is one of those pieces that was able to touch many different people in lots of different ways. And so that's why I truly believe a piece like this, you know, it requires an artist.
A mature artist
that
who can handle the responsibility of this piece.
Yeah, this piece is definitely, it's a responsibility.
It is a responsibility. It's not just a role. Like, you have to carry it with reverence and with the care that it deserves. Beautiful.
I really
That's really emotional. That's really, really touching.
I feel like it's so hard to say anything.
I
to
know.
it. The piece really speaks for itself.
It's almost like we didn't need a commentary here. But hopefully, you know, if it's your first time watching The Dying Swan, hopefully our little commentary could help you appreciate it that much more. I think it's profound. It holds so many different stories in it. The love for life and the fight to keep it, and also the journey of letting it go, and just the whole concept of death and its brutality for one, and also just like its natural, beautiful process.
You know, this is obviously our interpretation, but I feel like everybody who watches it
We'll say something different.
will have something different to say
exactly
about this piece. And again, that speaks of the timelessness and the universal nature of this role.
Yeah.
And the concept. And something that I believe will stay in the repertoire forever and ever and ever and ever.
Yeah.
And I hope that it will continue to touch people the way it's touched us and countless other people before us and after us.
Yeah, for sure.
So there you have it, you guys. That was The Dying Swan, which is seemingly so simple on the surface, and yet every single performance, it will move you in a different way every time.
I think that The Dying Swan is really special, not because of the technical brilliance of it. It's almost not about the technique at all.
Yeah.
The technique in this piece is really just a serving platter for the journey of death and the journey of surrender, the struggle, and the beauty that can be found in all of it.
In fact, it has been said by Isabel Fokine, who is the granddaughter of Mikhail Fokine, who choreographed the solo. She says, the ballet, in essence, is not about the beauty of a ballerina being able to transform herself into a figure of a swan. it is not about a swan, but it is about death, and the swan is simply a metaphor. And I really think that that is what the piece is.
Yeah.
At its heart. I think it's a responsibility for every ballerina who dances this piece to take their own wisdom, their own experiences, unique worldview,
Exactly.
and convey that all to the audience. And I think no matter how that comes out, whether it be in a very balletic, gentle, graceful interpretation, or a more raw, unfiltered take, or a completely different interpretation that we haven't mentioned.
Exactly.
It's up to the dancer to let their heart shine through.
We think this is a huge part of why The Dying Swan continues to live on and why it keeps being performed countless times.
And yet it never gets old.
It never gets old because every single time you watch it, no matter where you're watching it or who you're watching it be performed by, it always will hit you different. It will always tell a different story.
Because you're hearing the unique soul of each individual artist.
Exactly.
And what they have to share.
And nothing can compare to that,
Yeah.
really.
We would love to hear your thoughts and your interpretation on this absolute masterpiece.
Yes.
Whether it was a performance that moved you, a personal experience of dancing this role,
Yes.
or maybe just how it made you feel today.
Leave it in the comments.
Let us know
Let us know.
everything. Long essays are appreciated.
Yes.
We read as many of them as we can.
We read all of them.
So write it all out and we'll catch you there.
If you like this video, make sure you like the video. And if you want to see more ballet commentaries like this, then make sure you subscribe to our channel because we will be posting a lot more videos like these in the future. We would also love to give a big thank you to all of our patrons for supporting us on Patreon. You guys mean the absolute world to us. Thank you for making this video right here possible. And if you're not a patron yet, we would love to extend our invitation to you to join us on Patreon and help support the Ballet Nerd content every single Saturday.
And anyways, I think that is all from us for now. This is Ballerina signing off. Until the next video.
Bye.
I think that's one of the reasons why it's resonated with so many people for so long, and why it takes such a...
Sorry, I'm choking.
I-
I'm not joking.
such a feeler.